So is it really simple to lead people? I'd say it is really simple, but it's not easy. And today, we're going to talk not just about those simple but not easy stuff, but we're going to talk really about how to be unstoppable. Unstoppable Teams is the name of my guest's latest book. It's Alden Mills, and I'm super excited that he is here with us today. This is super cool. He grew up on a small farm in central Massachusetts, and his first dream was to graduate from the United States Naval Academy and attend Navy SEALs training. He was a nationally recognized rower in the gold medalist in the Olympic Festival, a captain of the freshman varsity teams at the Naval Academy, and served with distinction as a Navy SEAL platoon commander, no less than, get this, 3 times. After he did that, he became an entrepreneur, leading his first company to $90 million in sales, just 3 years. He did it all through persistence. So we're going to talk about being unstoppable and a whole bunch more, how to lead in these insane times. How you doing, Alden? It's great to have you here.
Hey, what's up, shipmate?
Hey.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, you know, funny enough, you're the second SEAL that I've gotten to interview on my show, and I'm super excited.
Oh, awesome. Well, I hope that other SEAL was helpful to everybody.
Absolutely, he was. And funny enough, he lives about 3 miles from where I used to live in downtown Tampa. So we actually got together for a beer, which tells me when I get out to Marin County, we're getting together for maybe a glass of wine, huh?
By the way.
Yeah. Cool. So Alden, how did you have the dream of going to the Naval Academy from a little farm community in Massachusetts? I mean, those don't seem to connect, man. Farming and SEALs. I mean, did you raise SEALs? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll tell you, it was really a series of cascading events, Phil. And I will often joke with people, it was because I had fat thighs or big thighs. And the reason I bring that up is that I was terrible at playing basketball and a whole bunch of other sports. And people always called me Thunder Thighs. And then when I was in high school, a rowing coach came along and pointed at my legs and said, "Those are big thighs. That would be great for rowing." I knew they were big thighs, but I didn't know they were good for anything. Rowing ended up taking me to the Naval Academy. And when I was at the Naval Academy and became a star rower there, I started getting asked to try out for SEAL training. And I thought, you know, this place sounds pretty cool. It works just like a boat. We've got 8 guys in a fire team, 8 guys in a boat. And it just cascaded from one thing to the next.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So often what we perceive as our biggest weakness ends up being our biggest blessing and our biggest strength. That's pretty cool.
And I often say that was my reason to believe. Like when people would say, you know, how did you think you could go to the Naval Academy? Or how did you think you could go to SEAL team? And I was like, well, it really started with the fact that everybody
So Unstoppable is the name of Alden's group here. He talks all about unstoppable stuff. He's got 2 books here about unstoppable, being unstoppable, the 8 essential actions to succeed at anything, and then Unstoppable Teams, which we're going to talk about today. So Alden, we lost you there for just a second, and now we're back.
Sorry about that.
No, no worries about it. I was just mentioning you've got 2 books out about being unstoppable here. So why is that word such an important word to you?
Because at the end of the day, all success is based on the same principles, and all those principles stack up to being persistent. You know, there's nothing I can't stand more than somebody saying, "Oh, I woulda, shoulda, coulda." The fact of the matter is you're making that decision. You're not born with an unstoppable chain, you build one. And it's all about your decision and the choices you make to go and live out those dreams that you've been thinking about and turning them into reality.
Awesome. I love that. I think it's always been a choice. Whatever we have is a choice, and all we have is the right now. So we just have to keep choosing. You talked about building from the Naval Academy through SEALs into your business there. But we have to choose. So why do you think some people get trapped and don't believe that they have the control that they need to be unstoppable?
What I talk to audiences all around the world about on the first steps of being unstoppable is leading inside here. We have these two voices banging around in our head. We have the negative one called the whiner, and the positive one that I call the whisperer. And the reason the positive one is called the whisperer is that it gets overshadowed by all the whining that we want to focus on or tell ourselves about. You see, we have this thing called negativity bias. The negativity bias is our survival mode because we put greater emphasis on negatives than we do positives. And you need around 3 to 5 positives to offset and overcome that negativity bias. And if you can't lead that, it's going to be really hard for you to, one, lead yourself through some challenging times, and two, and more importantly, help lead others through challenging times.
Yeah, we have to break that negativity bias and move forward and find the positive. There's a lot of positive and maybe a lot of negative happening right now. So what are some positive things before we talk about your C.A.R.E method here? What are some positive things that maybe we can take from the challenging stuff that's going on right now in the world?
Let me tell you, I spend a lot of time chatting with people every day about this. You know, folks know that you and I have this Navy connection, but one of the things that I spent a lot of time in SEAL team in was an active quarantine. An active quarantine means living on a submarine. And I'd spend up to 50 days at a time living on a submarine. And one of the first things that I would do when I knew I was going on a long underwater journey would be making sure I had a routine for how I was going to structure out my day of things that I would look forward to, things that I would look to skill up on. And this is an unbelievable opportunity that we have. I know that there's all kinds of fear about this pandemic and everything, but the fact of the matter is we can't control any of that. The things we can control can transform us. Now more than ever, we've got access to all kinds of information to learn a new skill, to build out something new for us. In 30 days or less, you could write a book. You could learn a language. You could invent a new product. We invented the perfect push-up in less than 30 days. So this is a unique moment in history. And not only can we invent those things, we can also reconnect with some really important people in our lives, both family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of doing new things. I'm definitely working on all of that. We're working on a book, working on some other stuff. But I think what you said, the last thing, is really the thing that I want to hone in on here, because that really matters to so many of us. And that is we can reconnect. And the C in your C.A.R.E is all about connection. And I love that, because for me, connection is really where it's at. We have to connect with each other. We have to be there for each other because we're all in this together. I mean, as we look, even though we're kind of quarantined in place, I'm kind of looking around my neighborhood. I don't see a lot of people there, but I know when I go to the grocery store, I know that there are people there that I need to count on. I know that that's from the farmer to the trucker to the loader to the unloader to the person checking me out to the person answering questions. So how do we make sure that we intentionally connect with those people around us and our teens?
So people ask that question, and they'll also ask me, I'm just not as positive as you. I wasn't born with a positive gene, which drives me crazy, because it's the same thing about practicing positive is the same thing of practicing connection. You have to be intentional about it. It takes just as much, if not less, energy to smile and ask somebody, hey, how you doing? Or tell the checkout person, the cashier at the grocery store, hey, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it. You know how that makes somebody feel when you do that to somebody? And how it will end up making you feel? Like I'm not talking about you've got to go out and create a team around these people, just to give them a little piece of gratitude, elements of connection, that if you do these consistently, people will wake up and be like, you know what? That person is so consistent. I'm going to start to trust that person. You see, that's the critical piece of connecting. As a leader, all leadership is is building relationships, and how those relationships will directly impact the outcomes that you seek in your leadership. Building out relationships built on trust through your human connection is the first critical step in becoming an unstoppable leader.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. So what I got from that, really important, is positivity and connection are related and they're a choice. We have to be intentional about them. They're not accidental, especially if we want to build trust. So we have to do it over and over again about being intentional and being positive and being there to connect with people. So I think that's really strong. And I completely agree with that. And that absolutely leads you into the A, right? That as we get more people around us, more people trust us, more people believe in us, we can achieve more. Is that where the A, are we going that, or am I not tracking right?
We're getting close to that. So the stages of building out a team are, if you're looking to do something that's really what I call over the horizon, like I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do this, right? You can use groups of individuals to get the weekly mundane task done. But let's say you're launching a new to the world product. Let's say you're dealing with something the company's never dealt with before. Call those things over the horizon goals, where you can't really see the outcome yet, but you know the direction you want to go. And getting there, right? Building out a boat full of people that are willing to leave the harbor of safety to go way out past the horizon. That requires trust. And then it requires direction. You see, at the end of the day, teams are built to achieve something. And if you're building a team, you better be really clear about the direction that you're going and what the goal is. So often people are like, yeah, we're putting a team together to go just crush it. Crush what? How do we know we've crushed something? Where are we going? What does it mean? How far is it? What are the milestones to it, right? Achieving has a whole bunch of steps to it. And one of them that I'll often, tell people about is like, hey, once you start to build trust with people and you brought people into your boat, into your team, you need to assume that they've got a skill that's going to help you. That's part of why that's why you picked them in the first place. And going through what I call these 5 A's of achieving really set the stage for the next phase of team building, because now you have gone from building trust to setting direction and achieving to then creating contribution. And you do that through the third action, which is called respect.
Okay, so you said there's 5 A's of achievement. So talk us through those before we move into respect, because I'm not familiar with that, Alden. I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, so here it is. You've picked out your teammates. The people have gone through a recruiting process, and one of the worst things that leaders will do is the moment they come on board, they assume they can't do the job and they micromanage the living dog snot out of somebody, right? Now, granted, they're going to need some training, but you've got to assume that they've got the basic grit to get the first jobs done. And so we always give them some guidelines to say, okay, now let's see how you get that done. Lots of folks get micromanaged right out of the gate, and that's one of the big things that will kill a team dynamic and keep you in what I call a group mode versus a team mode, is that you don't give them enough of an assumption that they can do a job. And you'll always have another A, assessing their performance, assessing their progress in the line of achieving. Besides that, you also have appreciation and making sure that they are appreciative of what they're doing, and not just appreciative of what they're doing, but how they're getting it done. You see, there's so many times that people won't appreciate, like, oh, this is a single mom and she's got a lot of things going on at home. We need to change around our meeting. And those are just 3 out of the 5 that I talk about in depth in the book.
Okay. Cool. Those make a lot of sense. And appreciation to me is the often overlooked one. I think a lot of leaders assume that people know that they're grateful and they forget to actually take the time to be grateful. Or they're grateful in generic ways instead of specific ways, right? They don't take the time to actually zero in on that behavior, as you mentioned, the how that things get done, not just the what that gets done or just the outcome. So I think those are really, really important and really, really good reminders. So we've got connection, we've got achieving more to create that direction. And now you talk about respect to build that environment of continuous contributions. What does respect really mean, though, Alden?
When I talk about respect, I'm talking about mutual respect. I'm talking about diversity of thought. I am talking about conflict and embracing conflict. Now, what's the conflict I'm referring to? I'm talking about the idea that somebody has raised their hand and said, excuse me, Miss Leader, I think I have a better way to do this. Here's my idea. That's a critical moment in team development. And how the leader responds when they're being challenged, that's conflict, is going to set the tone for your team development. You see, conflict leads to confidence that leads to contribution. At the end of the day, mutual respect is all about respecting different opinions, different ideas, so you get to the best outcome. Not your outcome, not your idea, when the idea of the team. And when people watch you go, you know what? I think your idea is better than mine. Let's look at your idea. Do you know how that makes somebody feel? And do you know how everybody else gets inspired by that? They'll go, wait a minute. That person's open to different ideas, different points of view. When I go home at night, I'm going to be thinking about something. And I talk it when you get up in the middle of the night, and I'd often tell my teams this, I want you thinking about how we're going to solve this problem, right? When you get up to go to the bathroom at 2:00 in the morning, and more often than not, someone would come back and be like, I was thinking about this problem at 2:00 in the morning, and I think I have an idea. You take that idea, they're going to be more confident to come up with more ideas. And now they're contributors. And once that happens, you've just bridged the gap from going from achieving to respecting, which takes you from a directed group to a team.
Wow. That's excellent. That's what we want, right? We want that directed team. We want that to go together. We want that contribution from each person on our team. Otherwise, we just hire all the same people, or we'd keep the people there and we'd never promote them. So this sounds like we're getting this going here. But there's one piece that we haven't covered yet, and that's the E, because care, otherwise we just have a car and we wouldn't go anywhere. So caring is about empowering others to create that ownership. So is part of that, though, that contribution piece there that you said, where we give them the idea that at 2 a.m. they should think about that, or explain that empowerment a little more, please.
You're the first one to actually call out CAR versus care. It cracks me up. Yeah, so now you've got contributors, right? Now they're starting to actually own these things. Well, you want to develop their ownership. You see, that's the whole goal of empowering. Empowering means you've got to take your power that you've worked, 20 years to become the VP or 10 years to become the VP of sales, and give your power away to help others succeed. Now, here's the irony. The more you give away, the more it comes back. But you've got to be comfortable enough, secure enough, that by giving it away, and the way you give it away is through your experiences, by sharing, by educating, by enabling, by engaging with them. I call those the 3 E's of empowerment. And by doing that, you're giving them ownership. I'm not saying you got to write a stock certificate. That doesn't really mean much to somebody unless they can feel like they are directly impacting the outcome with their actions. When they can feel like that, they're owners. And then the loop is complete. And then what happens is, over time, their ability to own and grow, you're going to say, hey, You need to be leading. You go stand up this team. You stand up this division and go sell X, Y, or Z. And what do you think they're going to do when they start to stand up their team? They're going to connect with them. They're going to achieve with them. They'll aspire. They'll assure them. They'll appreciate, assume, and assess what's going on, right? And they'll respect and they'll empower. And the loop is not a destination. It's a journey.
There you go. Well, it sounds like a nice do loop, right? That if we do this, then we get this, and it just continues to go. If we're programming, right, that just keeps going, and it sounds like an infinite do loop, which is what we want. I mean, we want to build something lasting, and by giving people this care, sounds to me like we can really make them more unstoppable. Is that where we're going here, Alden?
That's where we're going. And by the way, we need a lot more unstoppable teams out there. Like the great things in this country, in this world that have been created is by people that have had an unstoppable mindset, that have been able to shut the whiner off, both inside here and the people that yelling in here, it can't be done. I don't believe in it because I tried it and it didn't work for me. You've got to lead that. That's what leaders do. They lead the internal conversation with themselves first, and then how they lead themselves is how they lead others. So leadership is a never-ending cycle of continually learning and improving yourself so you can be more helpful to those you lead.
I love that. That's so powerful that we have to lead ourselves first. I really, really appreciate you saying that and totally agree. Well, your motto is to lead is to serve and to serve is to care. And being a sales trainer, I think that sales is service as well. And my buddy Mark Hunter says that sales is leadership and leadership is sales. So it's interesting how that all comes full circle. But who first instilled that in you, Alden, that to lead is to serve and to serve is to care?
Oh, the first thing, it would definitely be in SEAL team, right? Here I am, the young, okay. I am, the irony of a SEAL platoon commander is I'm the senior ranking officer from a rank perspective, but I'm junior from the experience ranking perspective, right? My chiefs, my first class petty officers, my second class petty officers, even some of my third class petty officers would have more experience in different things than I would. And the only way that you're ever going to get through a SEAL team and actually become a platoon commander is to win the respect of those that have more experience than you, and they know that you're going to listen to them. Because if you don't, somebody could get really hurt or killed.
Wow.
That's where it all started, right? So you go in with what I love of your 3 H's that you talk about, Phil, right? Be humble, be helpful, be human. And I think that's one of the things when, I like that term about leadership is sales and sales is leadership. I would throw one little piece in there, authentic, right? True leadership is sales, but you're selling yourself authentically. If you start to think of yourself like, oh yeah, I'll just tell them this and they'll buy whatever I'm saying, not forever. It will come back to bite you. But if you're authentic and you're selling from your heart, you're serving, then they'll follow and they'll go and they'll serve you as you serve them. That's care reciprocity. That's what happens over time. You see, when you start to care for others, and that's what a leader's got to do, you got to take those extra steps of caring. The care will come back. And the way it comes back is that people over time will realize, like, I don't have to worry about my own back anymore because that person's got it. And then they shift. They go from selfishness to selflessness. They go from caring to daring. And when you help people push beyond their original limits inside here, help them go beyond what they originally thought was possible, they will never let you down. Now you've helped people be unstoppable.
Awesome. That's so good, man. So Unstoppable Teams is the book, folks. This is Alden Mills. He's got lots of great stuff. He travels around speaking, engaging and encouraging teams all over, leaders all over that need to hear this. Make sure you get yourself a copy of this. Remember the C.A.R.E motto here: connect to build trust, achieve more to create direction, respect others to build your environment of continuous contributions, and then empower others to create that ownership within your team. And if you do that, you can win. Alden, if people want to talk to you, if they want to get more connected, where would you have them go and how can they reach you?
Please come to my website, alden-mills.com, and you can reach me out through there. You'll see me. I got a YouTube channel, an Instagram TV channel, and love to hear from folks. And I hope you'll tune in to my daily inspiration along with blog posts and different pieces of content we post on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you, Alden. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for spending some time with us today. Now go be unstoppable. Thank you, Alden.
That's my line. Go be
That's your line.
unstoppable.
Stole it. Thank you.